very well accomplished in the martial arts industry. Your fighters are as well. You're known for your team, which is Team Energize.
I think the past 5 years, I think we've topped it 3 times and came second twice. What I'm learning now, the more like the older I get, it's not the amazing fighters who I look at and go, actually, it's the ones who you weren't really looking at, but all of a sudden they're the ones I'm going, you could be really, really beneficial. You can help a lot of people. In 2015, I set my first challenge. First challenge, I was going to run 10 marathons in 10 days.
Was that from nothing?
From nothing, from London to Stockport. No, a few years back, when I set a new challenge of running a marathon, pulling a plane. So that was a 1.25 ton Cessna, and we completed it.
How long did that take?
23 hours and about 14 minutes.
Hell of a role model, mate. Well done. Not just for your students, but like you said, for your kids.
Being able to look back in the future, look back and go, oh, I did something amazing. That's always a good thing to do because we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a great deal of time here.
On this episode of the Elite Podcast, I speak to Carl Thomas, world record holder, extreme athlete, and owner of Energize, one of the UK's most successful tournament fighting teams. Carl, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good. How's yourself?
Yeah, really good. Thank you very much for coming to Liverpool to see us, mate. Really appreciate it.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Amazing setup.
Thank you very much. When was the last time we saw each other?
It'd have been a competition. It would have been a fight night. It'd have been some violence-filled evening of combat, I imagine. Yeah, it would have been one of them. Can't put a finger on it, but one of those.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you again anyway. And I spoke to you a few months ago, didn't I? We've said for some time about getting you down. You've very well accomplished in the martial arts industry. Your fighters are as well. You're known for your team, which is Team Energize.
Team Energize, Apex, yeah.
So, and they've done really well. How do they do? They won or come in the top segment of the WACO British?
Yeah, WACO Nationals now, I think the past 5 years, I think we've topped it 3 times and came second twice. So It's good consistently. Yeah. People say, though, you've got a really big team. I was like, yeah, but it's only the gold medals that count. The golds and the silvers are irrelevant. It's only the gold. So we're keeping them going. Some other good teams in the country, though, but we're holding them off for the time being. Yeah,
there is a few good teams. Do you want to just mention the other good teams as well? Just give them a little shout because it's a handful, isn't it?
Closest teams at the moment, I'd say you've got Team SAS.
Yeah, you've got Tony.
Which is Tony Anderton's. But then you've also got Edinburgh Wolfpack. They are always high up.
Kevin Baldwin.
Yeah, Kev Baldwin. Yeah. And then I'd say Andy Cleaves with Epic as well. That's generally around about the top 3, top 4 in the nationals. At least it has been probably for the past half a decade or something like that.
Yeah.
Good company to keep.
Absolutely. And a lot of the kids and the adults as well from all of those schools are pretty consistent internationally at all the events, aren't they? And all you guys are going to all the events and they're meddling on all the big ones. And I don't think to do that, I know because years gone, but with my old fight team years ago, we were in a similar position to yourself and I'd be fighting, the team would be coming out and would be podiuming regularly at the top events. And that is that's a lifestyle. Yeah. That's not even a full-time job. It's beyond that, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And what's mad about it, and I think it's really good for our sport as well, is the fact that not only do we have because we got probably the best fighters that there are. I mean, GB wise, look at the WACO Worlds and the Europeans for the kids this year and last year. We topped the medal table on both. But in order to get them kids ready, we've got the most supportive parents and support networks that there are because it costs a lot of money to go around the country. But I'm funnily enough, all them people I just mentioned, all of those 4 coaches, I think so far this year, I've seen them in Athens, I've seen them in Amsterdam, I've seen them in the Italian World Cup, I've seen them in the Hungarian Open. It's like they all go there, they give up all their time, and we've got this army of parents who are supporting them. So it's a huge collective of support within our industry, which is obviously got some good results because we're making monsters in the UK at the moment.
Yeah. If you think about it, steel sharpens steel, doesn't it? Yep. And it's the fact that you've got all these big, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other really great schools out there, isn't there, as well? But they might not have the same amount of good fighters, but there's still a load of good fighters, but only one can go, or in the kids it's 2, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, two in the kids, 1 in seniors.
So there's probably, like you said, probably a good handful that would be able to go, but they've got to keep fighting it off with each other. And some of the fights now are so competitive and there's not much in it at all, is there?
No, not in the slightest. But the other thing is as well is that we've got people who kind of lead the way. So you look at some of the fighters who at some point, you look and you go, I'm never going to make it on GB because I've got to beat this one individual. And some of them, and you look at essentially like the gatekeeper to your spot on the GB team, that's pretty much, I mean, let's be honest, that's always been, it's always been like Elijah, for example, Elijah Everill. People go, I've got to try and find a different weight for me to get into the GB squad.
That's a better option.
So people move around and go, I can either go there and try this, or I remember I got one of my lads, and he was, he's brilliant, really good. He made it into the final of the WACA British and fought Elijah, and he says to me, I'm going to get a point. I'm going to get a point. I'm pretty sure Elijah gave him one because it was 11-1. 11-1. So he gave him one and then cleared him after that. But like, that's the standard that we're at the moment. And, if I look at the nationals, we've got next year especially, and it used to be only like kind of like the adults, our juniors, 16 to 18s, even our older cadets now, the ability is so insane for what they are. Because not just how they're all in shape, they can all kick. The kids in the sport have evolved that much that they're intelligent. Their depth perception, their reaction, their timing, their thought process of the combat environment is next level to how it was, I'd say, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah,
just leveling up all the time.
Absolutely. It's evolved, isn't it? It just gets deeper and deeper. And like some of the, it's not just martial arts, is it? That's evolved. You look at all the sports, look at football, everything, but all the rules seem to get pushed right to the very edge of what they can be. It's almost to the point where it's almost like it's a science rather than even a combat sport anymore. What's your thoughts on that?
Right, yeah, well, it's also knowing the rules. I think if you know the rules really well, like one of the teams just mentioned before, Team SAS with Tony Anderton, it gets to a point where me and Tony have said this before after a competition, kind of joking a little bit, is that we're playing chess with humans. Because what we've got is I've got psychology background, he's got sports science background, and we are both playing. So we're speaking vicariously to the referees, while at the same time speaking to the coaches on the other side, then vicariously speaking towards the fighter, our fighter, the other fighter. And we know that if we can say one thing, maybe we can just drop a little bit of influence in their head or a little bit of their head. Tony's very good at it. I'm not bad at it. That's what makes it fun. There's so much going on. It's not just two people fighting. There's two people fighting. There's all the preparation. There's the gamesmanship. There's then when you get on there, all of the mental side. But it's so much more than just throwing a blitz, throwing a kick.
There's so many levels to it, isn't there? So many micro things that can change something, and lots of small things compounded together, isn't it? That makes a really good fighter. And getting it's almost like you need to have luck on your side as well sometimes, along with all the variables, the wind blowing in your direction. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Starting the fight off well, psychology just right, and then sometimes you can see the same fighters and a whole different result because things started in a different way. It's a crazy sport, but that's why I love it.
Well, the influence as well can come from parents. So it said parents can either have a fantastic effect or a really negative effect. Like I got a fighter who, let's say they're in the Europeans of the world and they're doing 3 2-minute rounds. And in the first 8 seconds, this fighter loses a point. The parent at the back will shout straight away, "You got to get that point back. You've got to go." We're 7 seconds in. We've got 3 rounds. We don't need to go yet. And all of a sudden, this fighter who's just lost 1 point in 8 seconds, I've got to do something. No, you don't. Take your time. Take your time. All the time in the world.
Absolutely. So you've done this. You've got your martial arts. You've got your successful martial arts centre, obviously in
Stockport,
Manchester. Stockport,
Manchester.
Brilliant. Yeah. So just give that a little shout out. That's called. Is it called Energize as well? Is that your fight?
Yeah, Energize Martial Arts, but our team is Energize Apex, which is basically the top of the club. Our ability, the apex at the top. Yeah,
that's brilliant. So you obviously. This is what you're doing now. You've been very successful in that. You're nearly 40, was it? You just said the other day you're approaching 40.
Yeah.
So
say that one quietly.
Yeah. So
a few weeks.
How did it all start then? Did you grow up in that area? Where did you grow up? How did you get into martial arts?
Right. Well, this is a mad one actually. When you talk about a story of how weird this is when it all comes out, and I've never told you a story before, so this is really, really weird. So, like when I was born, I think my parents separated when I was 4. And didn't know my dad or anything like that. And it's only then when I was 22 that my mum passed away. Hadn't seen my dad, and about 3 weeks later, someone had got in contact with him and said, "Look, your son's mum, your ex-wife, has passed away." And I randomly got a message from him, from my dad. And we just spoke on the phone then for about 2 hours. And in that conversation, he says to me, "What is it you do?" And I said, "Well, funnily enough, I run a martial arts school. I've run it now since I was 20. And he went, "That's quite weird because I'm a black belt as well. I'm a 6th dan under Kanazawa in Japan." And I went, "Oh, that's amazing. And you've also got 2 brothers, Both of them are also black belts.
Did you not know none of
No,
this?
didn't know any of
Wow.
this. In the same style that you were training at the time. I was Taekwondo before I moved to kickboxing. And my dad was a karate. My two brothers were both black belts in the exact same style I was training in, but we'd never met. Now he sits on my black belt grading panels.
That's brilliant.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
great. There's a story for you didn't know.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, crazy.
So at 22, so you was teaching martial arts at 20. How,
20.
How did you get to that point then? What was it? When did you start martial arts? At what age?
I think we did the kind of thing that everybody did during primary school or high school. There's a flyer on the wall and it's generally the same generic picture of some guy doing a side kick and, you go and you give it a go. But I did loads of different styles. The one I was drawn to originally was actually capoeira, which is obviously the Brazilian style, which just looks unbelievable. It's the flash techniques and everything. And then then I tried karate for a bit before settling at Taekwondo. And I did Taekwondo all the way throughout until I realized that I just really, really like being able to throw my hands.
Yeah.
And in Taekwondo, you're not limited to it because you can still throw your hands, but you're only throwing to the body pad, to the target. You're not throwing to the head. And I just made the transition over there. And I just feel is the style that for me, I found the most fun.
Yeah.
And
Most expressive.
And I just got addicted to it from that point. But I love every part of it. I enjoyed the discipline. I love the, with my ADHD, I love the fact that, there's a progression system that's done the right way. I've got to do it this way. Everything about martial arts and the discipline of it clicked really well with what I'm like here.
Yeah.
So being able to turn that to career was amazing.
Brilliant.
And that's where we are now, yeah.
That's
20
it.
years later.
Yeah. Well, it's more than a career, really, isn't it? Like you get into it, it's a lifestyle. It's submersive. You're totally, captivated by it, especially if you're ADHD, which I probably am as well. I'm not officially diagnosed, but most of the people out there are somewhere on the spectrum as well. A lot of the guys, aren't they? And obsessive compulsive even, because you need to submerge yourself and live that lifestyle. Because if you don't, you're not going to get right to the very top. You're just going to be bait for everybody else on the journey up. So you need to live the lifestyle. You need to associate with the people that are already doing really well as well, and rub shoulders with them and keep clashing with all the really good ones, which is obviously what you've done. So when did you decide? You think, right, I'm going to do this for like a living?
So I was working at the time. So I was an accountant in a charity whilst running my club. So I was doing that actually at the same time. And I had the letter ready to go to hand in to my boss, just to resign, to say, okay, I'm done. And I was going to go full time with my club. I'm going to do it. I put it off for over 18 months and I had this letter in my drawer all the time. And then I was so close to doing it and I got called into the office and we're so sorry, we're going to make you redundant. There's your payout. I went,
thank God
jobs
for that.
are good and thank you very much. So I did it straight away. That paid for a load of new set of pads and everything. I think signed my lease for the first unit 2 months later, something like that.
It's mad when you're young as well, because you'll take bigger challenges and risks, don't you?
Oh, God,
so you sign a lease, no problem. Like as you get older, you'd like, what was I doing? Like you throw everything into it, and it's lucky it works because you make it work, don't you?
You'd make it work, but what's mad is like you said there, you do risks without really thinking about it. I didn't even know you had to pay business rates.
So you think that soon become apparent once you'd moved in then?
It was an office suite, so it wasn't even an industrial unit. An office suite, D2 office unit, which means that my rent at the time was like £1,300 a month. My business rates were £900 because it was an office suite. And then I went, why do I pay these? And then there was dilapidations. Then there's all these other things. I'm going, I don't know any of this.
Insurance and then VAT on top of it. And
it
literally puts 50% on your rent, doesn't it? Because I was really young when I did it as well, and I was inexperienced in business and just sign stuff. And that's what I do now. I just, with people, I'm like, wait, let's have a look. Let's check this over, check everything first, make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself in for. And then obviously, and then jump in with 2 feet.
But what's mad is you're glad you did it. Like, I'm so glad I did it. But God, to be fair, I suppose if you knew the risks, you'd be less inclined to take them.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did it now because, it's worked out good.
That's what's good about being young, though, is because you do take those risks. You've got less to lose. And the risks that you might not have done, you don't bet the ranch when you're 40. If you've built a legacy, right, then you're less inclined to be making foolish decisions or really high-risk ones. But when you're young, you bet the ranch, everything on black. Do you know what I mean?
I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
You jump without the safety net and you make sure you make it because you have to. Yeah. And that's great. Well, you're sound very much like myself when I did it. I'm more measured now, though, obviously, especially when I'm mentoring other people. I'm like, I've made the mistakes. Make sure you don't make them. Let's just check all this up for you.
Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Exactly.
Now we can go.
Now you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. So you've grown. You've got the one. Is it one location? Or do you have two?
No, I've got the one location. That is something that we are changing down the line. I think I actually mentioned that to you. I think it was when we had a chat a while back. I said we're going to do it at some point, but I want to make sure that I've got the right people involved in order to,
of course,
to work on the expansion.
You're just gonna cause yourself headaches otherwise.
Bit of a control freak as well, though I am as well. So I like it. It's got to be done a certain way, coached in a certain way with the right kind of people and everything. And I think if it's people who I've trained up through what it is that the way I coach, essentially it's going to be my level
100%.
of coaching. That's what I want.
Yeah, they'll be bought into it because they've gone through that process. They know the syllabus. They know what's required, and they inherit the same OCD you've got. Have you not noticed once you're guys and you're strict with them and you're picking them up on everything and you're giving them tough love, they go in and they implement that exactly the same way as you. Then they've got full ownership on it because they've experienced the full benefits of it. And you can't beat homegrown. That really does help. And then they're going to buy into the brand as well a lot more then because they've got ownership on it themselves as well and want to kind of help it, expand.
I think also as well, what's weird is you always naturally look, or maybe it's something just that you automatically do, you look for the best athlete and go, you'd be an amazing coach at coaching fighters. So somebody who's an amazing fighter, you'd be really good. What I'm learning now, the older I get, it's not the amazing fighters who I look at and go, actually, it's the ones who you weren't really looking at in the background who just have been like working away. They haven't been on the podium. They haven't even been maybe competing. But all of a sudden, they're the ones I'm going, you could be really, really beneficial. You can help a lot of people. And they can just appear from the background. And that's what I'm noticing as I'm looking to expand. It's the people who haven't really been at the forefront of competing. I go, I reckon you could make some really, really good athletes, though. But also, you're a good teacher.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just, I'm good on a bag. You should see me throwing punches, you see me throwing kicks. Someone who can converse well, communicates with different ages really well, can understand tonality, eye contact, everything like that. And they're the ones who make phenomenal coaches.
They are, yeah. You don't just pick, if you just pick fighters, because obviously the nature of being a fighter is you have to be self-absorbed and selfish. Yes. And if you're not going to be very good because it needs to be all about you. You need to be getting as much mat time. It needs to be you. And that is the way it is.
Yeah.
That's a conflict with the selflessness needed to be a coach.
Yeah.
I'm not saying good fighters don't make good coaches because we've got some good fighters that are good coaches as well, but not all good fighters make good coaches. So we select separately for the fight squad and for the coaching side,
like
of
coaching
things.
Development.
Yeah. So and if they're good at both and they pass both, that is, and we have got some, but some are just in one lane specifically.
Yeah.
And then you get some that are fantastic coaches, but just don't want to fight.
Don't want to.
Done a few, done a bit. Really love coaching, and they just love getting behind people, and they're super reliable, and all the rest, and amenable, and communicating.
Not everyone wants to fight as well. You've got to be a special kind of idiot to want to get punched and kicked in the face
and
for you to pay for it every weekend.
Yeah.
And then go back and do it again. Is it my weekend off? What I'm going to do? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get blitzed. I'm going to get kicked. I'm going to get ridge-handed. I'll have a fantastic time. It doesn't make sense, does it, when you think about it?
No, absolutely. You're right. A special type of idiot. That's definitely true. Flipping out. Like, just think about how much money it's over a 10-year period, how much money you must spend.
Let's not think about it.
No, it's crazy. Like the parents as well, when hats off now, like hats off to all the parents out there, like your children would not be what they are without you because the children can't drive themselves to training. They can't afford their own tuition. And parents are going and they're paying for their one child and the two of them, or what sometimes it's one, isn't it? But it's still double or triple the cost of what it would be. And you have to go everywhere if your kid's going to be good. It is, you need a full-time wage just to do that, don't you? So, hats off to
and there isn't big sponsorship for our sport
Not
at the moment.
At all.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. You can go to a couple and go, maybe you find yourself a little construction firm who've got a little bit of disposable income.
Yeah.
Who can do it as a tax write-off.
200 quid here.
But it's not. It's not. When you see and our level athletes are as good as many of the professional athletes.
And the trainer's hard.
Just as hard.
Yeah.
Just with more self-sacrifice a lot of the time as well, because they're paying for it all themselves. And at the moment, quite a few of them, there isn't even the end goal yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, eventually, when we can get some kind of things up and running where there's an end goal for athletes, where they can fight in a professional circuit or something
we're
like that.
We're working on that, as you know.
I just chopped it in for you there. It's not my first rodeo.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
drop that one in for you there. Yeah, that's what you're trying to get. But that makes a difference because then people go, oh, there is actually an end goal to it as opposed to just amateur style. You're an amateur boxer, you can be a professional boxer.
Yeah, that's it. You know what the goal is. You know what your dream is.
Yeah.
At the minute, what do? You represent Great Britain, which is phenomenal. And it's one of the best experiences in their sporting career. But it's not going to, ultimately not going to pay the bills. And then they need to go down the teaching route. And as you know, like, as I just said earlier, the good fighters don't always make good coaches, and they've got some of the best kept secrets in the world, where these phenomenal martial artists are just having terrible clubs. And that's why I do what I do now with the mentoring as well, to help people, because it's just heartbreaking to see these people who have put tens of thousands of hours, like masters of their craft, and they don't really know how to get the people through the door. And we're in a different world now, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, people would flock to the good places. Now it's social media. It's about how much noise you can make. It's about marketing. And if you're better at marketing than someone, you're going to have more students, regardless of how good you are. Do you know what I mean?
Don't start me on that one.
Regardless of the product, because your product, if you think about what your product is as a martial arts instructor, it is your classes and the standard of your students. That's your product, isn't it?
Yeah.
And everything else is either marketing or sales, isn't it? Or whatever it might be on the journey to get them there. But that's your product, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a couple of coaches, and they just, they explain that so well. The best person is obviously Jaddy Tension.
Yeah.
From GC, and he talks about it all the time. He says, imagine that you look at this, I think the way he explained it is, you look at this place, it's amazing. This dojo looks fantastic, and everything outside is shining. They've got LCD screen, everything's so amazing. You get in, you sit down, all the furniture's cheap, and it's all inside, everything's just nasty. That's the product of what you're selling. And he says that the difference is that people can be drawn into it and go, it's amazing, like you said, just by the social media presence, just by how shiny the posters are on the outside. But unless you get in there and see it, you don't really know. But when they've got you through the door, they're then awfully very good at selling as well.
Yeah, normally they've put all that money into marketing and sales. There's no good at being
and you buy into it.
No good at being good at one of them. You have to be good at both of them. So generally they're going to have a good sales process as well for that. But, a lot of people you don't know what you don't know either. So you can go to these great martial arts centers, and because they're so friendly and forthcoming, and they might have a professional, well put together kind of program, and the classes look fun and people are nice, they just don't realize that they might not be being taught something that's any good because they're in this bubble of everyone that's at the club, and
they're all saying it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's why tournaments are a good leveler. As soon as you go out to tournaments and you see, you'll know if your club's any good or not quite quickly.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I'll tell you, going back to that thing you just said before as well, when you talk about how much work the athletes do, there's one bit, and I've just come back to me now. So we just got back from the WACA World Championships, and I've fought on so many different associations every year. So that a WACA World, a WACA European title is just ridiculous. It's just, and you've got to be careful. I say it nowadays, because you're not belittling other associations in the slightest. Just my own personal experience of being around. I think my guys have won God, you should see. It's funny when you say it, 15, 16 world titles.
You sound like a Walter Mitty, don't you think? That guy's talking shit. If you heard him 15, down the pub, 16. They'll think he's just talking shit to everybody.
Yeah, used to be professional footballer till blow me knee out. Do you know all them kind of things? And so I think one of my lads had nine world titles, other had 8 world titles, and I was almost believing it myself a little bit. And then we went to our first massive WACO event, the Irish Open, and we got obliterated.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. Yeah. So I made the jump over then and went into WACO, and then, carried on training, carried on getting into it. And we got leathered we're talking a couple of years. We got battered.
Absolutely will.
And then bit by bit. But I've always said that I'd rather lose to the best than beat the average. I'd rather just know exactly where we're at. And being at the WACO, the WACO Worlds now, especially since coming on as a GB coach, I can see what that level is. And there's something that I saw, which I don't think that we yet as a sport, we get the recognition that we should do, especially in this country. So use an example. One of my lads came back. He's called Rory Harrison, brilliant fighter now. He won 2 WACO World titles, points on light contact. And I think he got bronze in kick light as well. Really, really, really good. And bronze in teams. Came back, he's got these world titles, everything like that. I think the school give him a thumbs up on Instagram. Well done, Rory, that kind of thing. I then saw the lad in the weight above him, or 2 weights above him, is from an Irish, the KBI, Kickbox Ireland. Arnis, I hope you get his name right here. Arnis Rankus, I think his name. Arnis Rankus. I know it's called Arnis, but make sure I get it right. He won the world title, and I think 84s. And Roy Baker shared the video that his school or his college put on. And it is one of the best things you've ever seen. That right there is how you respond to an athlete winning a world title.
Yeah.
So he comes out and you'll find the clip and we'll have to edit it in it somehow. And it's him with his trophy and his medal. And he walks from the front gates of the school all the way in. The entire school, it was only put on a couple of weeks ago, all line up, all the teachers, they all clap all the way in. Amazing. One of the best things you'll see. But the thing is, somebody comes back and,
he deserves it as well, by the way.
You do deserve it. That's
Absolutely.
the thing you do. But because it's not an Olympic sport, it's not like a professional tennis player. No, we just don't get the respect for the level of the skill of that the athlete actually has.
Do you think that is because there's so many, and I've seen this, Elijah actually experienced exactly the same. We talked about this when he was at college, because Elijah was multiple WACO world champion. Yep. There was a couple of other people at his college as well that were world champions in kickboxing. And everyone else thought they were all kind of the same. It was like, no, you don't understand. Like, he is a whole other level to what they are. He's won these WACO ones, multiple ones. And they've gone, some of these people had gone into, I don't know, straight finals in a very small level event, fighting someone else from Great Britain in the final. I mean, like, so I'm not taking anything away from them. They fight what's there. But I think because there's so many and there's so many people winning stuff, people are just like, oh yeah, he's a champion, when they need to realise the difference of what these guys have achieved.
I think as well, like we said, we've got to put the disclaimer on every time, haven't we?
Yeah.
When we say like we're not saying anything bad about others, so saying the slightest, because I think everyone has its role. For example, if I'd have gone straight away, if I'd have gone from when I made the jump into kickboxing from Taekwondo, if I'd have gone to WACO straight away, I wouldn't still be in WACO, because we wouldn't have been able to develop at the standard because the standard was just too high.
You need some ladders to work up.
We did, and we went through 3 or 4 different associations that I was doing, and it was brilliant. I mean, some of the places I went to, like my first world
and
championships.
there's still great fighters at some of them, but you might not get as many. That's the only thing.
You don't get that.
But you still get
up.
some really good ones in some of the associations. Absolutely.
Oh, you do.
But maybe not in all the sections, and maybe not as as many. I think it's the depth, isn't it? The WACO ones, like every single fight, it's almost like a finals, isn't it? In some instances, it's like, wow, this level is unbelievable, and they're getting through on a razor's hair, like every every fight. It's like anyone could have won that.
Do you think the change has happened as well, though? Because I also hear people say, oh, well, the whole thing where they say it's tippy-tappy. That is a myth that I've just never quite understood. I really haven't, because I'll tell you what, my guys, when they're jumping in, when they're continuous, or they're doing the kick light, or even the points, God, the contact is solid. The contact is solid.
I think maybe it's not. I think if you can smash someone with then you're never going to get warned for a spinning kick, a kick to the body. You're never going to get warned for that. You're not going to get if you roundhouse someone or hook kick someone in the head. You're not going to get warned for contact for that either, are you? Because they are set hook kick, and a roundhouse kick off lead leg is really a semi-contact. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
slapping the leg out is a semi-contact technique, isn't it? But I think it's like the body taps. That's what gives it a bad reputation. Because I don't like them. I think that changed the dynamics, and that isn't it's not a technique which is got any. Even if you threw it in as hard as you could, it's not going to really cause any damage, is it? Like a reverse punch, you can slam a reverse punch in. If it's into body, they're probably not going to do anything. What they would warn you for do, because I used to get it all the time, is like reverse punches to face, hooks to face, and that's when you're going to get warns, really.
The ridge hands.
Yeah.
The nice ridge hands. The nice ridge hands from the open side. Yeah. They're nice too.
Yeah. But back in the day, they were thrown in with flipping from one side of the sports hall to the other with the skimpiest pairs of gloves on, wasn't there? With no health and safety.
Face gloves.
Yeah.
Remember them?
Nothing on that
nothing
bit at all.
on in the slide.
Where the ridge hand hits, nothing on it, just hand.
I got hit by a few of them.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've been hit. I think I've been shook more in points fighting with it's proper semi-contact gloves on in the old day. We're hit with ridge hands and stuff than I have when I've done full contact fights, because you're ready for it and you're waiting for it. And these things, I've been buzzed a few times just by the ridge hands and with bare knuckles, basically.
Some of the hardest hits are there. So the person who's hit me the hardest still with a ridge hand, Daz Ellis.
Yeah.
Daz Ellis hit me with a ridge hand, and it came from Spain. I'm not joking. It came right around and hit me. And Joe, you turn a TV on and there's no signal. It's just like,
yeah.
I saw that for a second. I was like, oh, that was, and then I turned around, he's coming at me again. He was quick, Daz.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was rapid, absolutely.
You do get the clashes as well, don't you? But yeah, I think that's where that comes from. And a lot of the fighters, then you might see 80-20 rule, 80% of their fight game might just be around firing those. I talked about this earlier with the rules. It's because it's in the rules. You can get 1 point and it's easy. You haven't got to be really highly skilled to stick your front hand out. And some people's whole game plan and fighting style is based around that shortcut of that really easy technique.
Yeah.
And you could be a well-rounded martial artist then with all of these kind of skill sets, and you're not really able to get it into practice. Your game's getting lowered to the level of their level of skill. That's what would annoy me, and that's what I would say in return to what you said about that. And that can make it a really shit spectator sport then. But when you have like great martial artists as well. There's some really good martial artists out there as well, isn't there? And they both fighting off. I think it's beautiful to watch. I think it's one of the best things you can watch when they're going at it. Points fighting with two really good, quite well matched, high level fighters.
Yeah, the ones who generally don't use the body jabs as much as well. You look at some of the female fighters. Still, I think one of the strongest female fighters ever. I mean, Evelyn. Unreal. And you're not going to see her, but if she throws it, I'll tell you what, she's flying through you with that every time. You try kicking out, she'll come straight over the top. She's a solid fighter.
There's a place to put it in, absolutely. I used to do body jabs, but good solid.
Not one of these ones.
Stepping in and like dominating someone, taking the space away as they're trying to kick.
We don't like it when you're fully committed doing everything and they lean away and then they flick it. That's the only one we don't like.
And that's all they're doing all the way through the fight. Do you know what I mean?
Because then you stop attacking.
Yeah, that's it. And
I might as well wait.
And I've fought people like that, and it just brings your fight level down.
Yeah.
And I've got so much to. I mean, some people say it's clever though, and you're fighting the rules, and you've got to do what's there. But I think it's the rule set that allows that, isn't it? If you could that's the one thing that would make me happy that they'll never do would be to remove that.
Yeah, I don't know if they will. Do you not think though that's maybe played a part in the growth of light contact and kick light? Because I've noticed there's a huge growth in both of those disciplines at the moment. They've got a lot bigger
now from when I was active. Flipping out, they're almost bigger than the points. They're getting to that point now, aren't they? If you look at the section sizes and some of the big events.
Well, the one I was looking at recently, I tell you what, then again, we're saying that, you go back to points, where I looked at a division, minus 37 kilo youth cadet in the Uzbekistan World Cup last week, 68 fighters in one of the kids' divisions.
Unbelievable,
68 fighters in their first World Cup. I mean, it's growing everywhere at the moment. But light con I really like I do have kick light, I'm really growing to like now. It's
that's getting really big as well,
completely different style.
You're getting the people that would never normally come to mat sports though, that are from K1 gyms and stuff. I think it's a really good progression because flipping out, it's not light. Let's be honest.
No,
you're getting some digs, but it's hard enough. No one's going to be getting concussed or killed.
Yes,
and I think especially for the young ones, it's a really good way to break them in. And a lot of the guys that win that one undoubtedly go on to do K1 or
K1. It's the progression up, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But some of my guys are doing that because then also, Wacko, you go for those three. You've got your tatami spots. Then in the ring, you got your full contact.
Yeah.
You got your K1. You've also got your low kick as well, which is your full with your leg kicks as well.
There's a mat sport
there's
progression
a lovely
of each
step
of them.
all the way through.
Yeah.
And then obviously we need a professional way to finish it out, but that's what you're dealing with soon. So
absolutely.
It works out well.
So with yourself as well then, so you're not just a one-trick pony and a guy that does martial arts. You're actually, you've got a Guinness World Record in something, or
I do.
You do. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because it's not just one-off. You've done quite a few endurance events, and I'm not going to lie, because I didn't really only last 10 years or so. We've really got to know each other. But before that, we always like missed because I was on the scene more. I was just as I was transitioning out, I was doing bits of coaching. You were coming on, and you were starting to make some waves. And that's some of the endurance stuff you did. And I'm being a paratrooper as well. Like I've done some hard shit, and I was like, "Wow, that's serious."
Yeah.
That's serious stuff.
I mean, do you know what? I'll tell you where it started, and I'll tell you the stupid stuff I've done since. So it's about 2013 or something like that. Someone asked me for a donation because they were doing a charity challenge. I'm like, yeah, cool. What is it? And they were going to lay in a bath of beans for an hour, and I went, all right. So I gave him some money. It was a thing that we were doing in the office. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, why am I donating money to that? I get it. It's going to be for a good cause and everything. But what's weird is I wasn't emotionally like, I didn't want to, I just didn't get it. And then I remember seeing Eddie Izzard do his crazy marathon running. Do you remember that from back in the day? The comedian Eddie Izzard. He did this big running thing. And I went, do you know what? I reckon I could do something like that. But I'd never done distance running.
You never really ran before?
No, never did any distance running in the slightest, really. So what I did is, in 2015, I set my first challenge. First challenge was I was going to run 10 marathons in 10 days.
Was that from nothing?
From nothing. From London to Stockport. That's what I did.
What about one marathon?
Never done it.
Yeah.
Never done it. I'd done a half marathon as a practice.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then what we did is...
Did you find that hard, or was you all right with it? All right.
It was kind of, it was all right. So but then you saw for the next day.
Yeah.
So I ran to, so I got the train, saved me money on the way back, got the train to London and then left Trafalgar Square. And then we went from Premier Inn to Premier Inn. So it was me, and then each day I get a different support runner. So many old people join me. People from my club would just kind of rock up, run the marathon with me, everything like that.
Like Forrest Gump.
Yeah, pretty much, just without the beard. And then I had like a little support crew. So we hired a van, filled up with sweets and chocolate and like ice and stuff and, bandages. And we just ran marathon to marathon to marathon all the way back. But when we got to marathon, I mean, by the way, the first marathon, dead easy. Sounds weird.
First day, dead.
I think anyone could do it. Do you know what I mean? You just got like right, left, get to the end of it. I woke up for day 2. And then to try and think, you don't want to walk down the stairs, let alone run another marathon. Day 2, day 3 were the worst ones.
Were they?
Yeah. Day 7 was really bad though. Day 7 was through West Brom, and I was running along and I hit a just in the pavement where like one of the pavement slabs has come up, hit it, and I definitely felt a crack or something. It was documented loads on my Facebook. And I had 2 sport runners. I went, oh, that's really bad. Anyway, we kept running, got to the end and my ankle was really big. And then what we do is for the next couple of days, my ankle will be like this. We have sports physio. They'd push all the fluid out of my ankle, strap it up. And it was completely numb for the first probably 2 or 3 miles. And then I ran the remaining marathons. When I finished it and I got back to Stockport, I woke up the following day, still so bad. I went to the hospital, went to A&E. They said, you got a broken ankle. I broke it on Marathon 7.
Bloody
so
hell.
there's a picture on crutches with it all in a cast and everything. So I'd ran 2.5 marathons on a broken ankle as well to finish it off. But I didn't realise.
That's impressive.
Stupid.
Yeah. And what point in the 10 marathons did you think, oh shit?
2.
Was it on the second
2.
one? I've totally overcommitted on this.
2. Oh mate, and everything that happens. I mean, I even put a video on YouTube. It's called because it's called the Carl Thomas Project, and it was the pain game, and it shows the stuff I had. Like there's bits where like I had using big syringes, drawing the fluid out my knees because my knees are balloon up that much. Like rock tape all the way up them, and then a week later, all my toenails fell off.
It will do, yeah.
I didn't know any of this stuff. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know, like, when I was running on the first one as well, I didn't realise that when you run a marathon, you get this nipple problem.
Yeah.
Where I had blood coming down here. I go,
Oh.
no one told me this. No one told me
Nipple
this.
rub.
It was awful, mate.
Oh
It was
my
awful. That
God.
was all worse than the ankle, that was.
So how many collective miles? 260 odd miles, isn't it?
262.
Yeah.
262 points. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 26.2 every single one. We got lost on number 7, so we did a bit more. And my fastest one was a 4 hour and 3 minute, I think.
So there's very respectable times on each of the, were they all in and around kind of that as well?
Nah,
or the later ones get
the
quite
ankle
slow?
ones got really, really.
Did they? What was they coming in at then?
About 7 towards the
Yeah,
end.
it doesn't matter at that stage. It's
7,
about
yeah.
completing it, isn't it?
The last one I did was quick because I was so happy to get home. And if you see the video when I
Yeah.
come home, we thought, so we arrived back in Stockport and it's like a big shopping centre down the middle. And all the students from Energize were all there waiting for
Brilliant.
me.
So you started in London, you finished in
Stockport back, yeah.
Brilliant.
And then when we came back to it, they were all there. And then we all went to the end and we had like the mayor and everyone was like that at the end. And, ITV News, they were all there. It was good. And I got really emotional and everything like that. And then
your body's actually in shit state. You're probably broken down.
Broken, mate.
Mentally, physically.
Broken, yeah. And this was just the first one. And then I got the bug for it. And what's weird is I don't understand why people don't like to do, because I got excited. My next one, like the next one I did was the hardest one I've ever done. So the next one I did is harder than anyone, including the one I'll tell you about in a minute, the Guinness World Record. I did a cycling challenge, just road cycling. And what it was 150 miles a day around the UK. And then, so we did that, Cheshire Plains, and then all the way up to Scotland, sorry. And then the last day, we did 2 of them in one go. So same over 10 days.
So 300 miles the last one.
Yeah, from Stirling Castle back to Stockport. It was 302 miles. It took about 35 hours from that. We didn't get off the bike. We just cycled the entire way. My support crew.
I'm not going to ask you how you'd piss.
Oh, it was
If you didn't get off the
you
bike.
learn everything, mate.
Yeah.
You learn everything when you're on there. But I mean, even the support crew, when we come back, we were on Shap, I think it was, like this, the motorway, something like that, at like 4 a.m. And the support crew filmed the little bits of camera, and they both found it emotional, and they had a cry. The 2 guys are like, we don't really know how he's still doing it. And I hit the lowest point I've ever had, exhaustion like I've never had it. And it was when we get over the top of this motorway and we're going downhill. I've got the speedometer on my phone, and we're doing about 28, 29 mile an hour down a hill. Normally, I'm a bit tense like that. I was really loose on it. I'd lost hearing at that point. And
Why is that?
So when you get to a certain level of exhaustion, like a really, really high level of exhaustion.
Your senses are starting to
it
shut
starts
off.
to go. So you get tunnel vision. And it's not that it goes dark. Everything gets blurred and you just no longer pay attention to it. It's only these bits. But then I thought to myself, I'm going down this hill, got my gear on. I'm like, if I just do this with my handlebars now, if I just snap it to the right, and in my head I went, if I don't die, I'm going to be so mangled and so injured, they won't let me carry on. And it went through my head.
Oh, I've had that
I'm
as
not
well.
joking, 7 or 8 seconds.
Intrusive thoughts.
And I thought, I'm thinking, if I don't die, it might do it. And by the time I got to the bottom, I went, oh, it's too late now, I've got to carry on.
Yeah.
And that is the lowest point I've ever had.
We used to get that on tabs when I was in the parachute regiment. We used to say, you could end it at any minute if you're just looking for stuff to trip over.
Yeah.
You're not, but it's these intrusive thoughts that are going through your mind because you want the pain to stop because it's so bad, isn't it? And as long as and it's normal to have those, you just need to like not act on them and just dismiss them as they come.
Absolutely horrific. And I got back and we did it. And then I did a few more and then COVID hit. But when COVID hit, we obviously couldn't leave. So I thought I'm going to entertain everybody. So Lab Bible got involved with it straight away as soon as I did it. Yeah. And I did a garden marathon. I only had a small garden. Do you know what I mean? So I set up a camera. We live streamed it. And I've had a marathon in the garden.
So how? What did you do?
I just went.
Shuttles?
No, so I got the lap of my garden like that.
Yeah.
I measured it out and I live streamed it and I ran a full marathon in my garden.
How big's your garden?
It was small at the time.
Was it?
It was
Oh
very
my
small.
God.
Mate, it was so many times I was going around that
That's
thing.
mind games, that is though, isn't it?
Yeah. But COVID had nothing to do.
How many laps?
It's on the video. I've documented it all. It was a lot though.
How many did you think? Guess. I did a guess.
Honestly, I can't remember. You get that bored. With it. Oh God, yeah, hundreds and hundreds. And then the following day, because I got a row machine. So I thought, well, I'll row so I put it in the garden again because it was summer in lockdown. So I rowed the distance of the channel and back.
Yeah.
And that was my second day one. Then the third one, I got a plyo box. This was hilarious, this one. Do you know the box, the plyo boxes? Yeah. And I thought, can I do this in a day? Can I box jump the height of the Burj Khalifa?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Box jump the height of the Burj Khalifa. So I think it was 1,326 box jumps in 12 hours.
Bloody hell.
And that was the Burj Khalifa. And then the following day, I did the height of Everest on my stairs. My wife thought it was absolutely fucking stupid. She really did. But that's what I did.
How long did that take?
I did it in 12 hours.
What about, so you have to go up and you don't count the going down then, do you?
Just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Slide down.
The height of Everest. I wound up the carpet at the bottom. That was a bit mashed up.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Then COVID finished.
Need to do carpet, don't you, on the stairs after that?
It was rough, yeah.
So why are you doing this then, Carl? Is that you're trying to run faster than your demons? Are you trying to stop the screaming in your skull or something?
Do you know what's weird, right? Is I've got a little lad at the moment and he's doing everything like that. And while I've got the ability to do stuff that I think is really cool, I really like the fact that one day, my lad, if I have another one or something like that, will be like, see what my dad did ages ago. Like, I've got this thing where, like, in school when he's like a teenager, something like that, goes, oh, my dad's run a marathon. I went to go, my dad did 10 in a row. Yeah. And I really like that. But on the side of it is I've got really good friends of mine, and it's a charity called Ollie's Army. And they've got 2 kids, all right? These 2 kids who've got the disease. They've got more children, but these 2 have got the disease. And it's called Batten's disease. It is the most brutal disease ever. The body just shuts down, completely shuts down. All of my challenges raise money for them. And any of the videos, I'll tag you in some of the videos that I've done with them. But the one that they did, and I'll tell you when we got the highest views. So the Guinness World Record that I got was a few years back when I set a new challenge of running a marathon, pulling a plane. Now,
that's right. I saw that.
So that was a 1.25 ton Cessna.
So 1.25
plane, plane.
And you pulled that for the distance of 26.2 miles.
26.2 miles. So what we did is we just privately hired out Elvington Airfield in York, which is where Richard Hammond had the crash in Top Gear back in the day. We then got the big hire firm to give us some lights on the runway. We set up a DJ at the end with house music for every time I got to the end of it. And then a load of my students who I've taught since they were young, they just came with me holding torches because when we got through the middle of it, we had a whiteboard with the laps and I just pulled this plane up and down to set the world record. But the dad of the kids who runs a charity, Mike Carroll, was actually on the runway. And when it got really, really bad, because there's quite a few times where you get really low because it's sleep deprivation as well.
Yeah,
so
that's the hard bit.
I have a cry, I throw up, these kind of bits and bobs. And then when it got really dark, it's like 3, 4 in the morning and everyone's cold and plodding along because no one's sleeping. The dad started telling us, and we had it on live stream, the dad started telling us about how his son got diagnosed. Bear in mind, I think his life expectancy was only 12 and he's 12 now. Oh. And he said, his lad was in the bath and all of a sudden he had a seizure and he had a fit. And then we were all complaining that we were cold. I was really struggling. And when he finished his story, all of us thought, right, let's get back onto why we're doing this again now. Raise morale. And we all got through it and we did it.
That helped motivate you and get you through it then.
Yeah. And we completed it.
How long did that take?
We did 23 hours and about 14 minutes.
That's a long time to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's what's caused me the problems in my back as well.
Yeah, you said. Tell us about your back. You've got a few issues with that now, haven't you?
I got three herniated discs, annular tear, and some central nervous system damage. And what it is I practice with my car. So I was pulling my car, but obviously the PSI is so much higher on the tires, so it's quite smooth. When you're walking, you just go with it. Obviously, a plane's got to land. So there's essentially it's a lot squishier, isn't it? The wheel. Of course. So it's just going bang, bang.
So it's just absorbing all the energy.
So I'm just pulling, and it's just slamming me like that. And I had loads of problems, but I've had loads of work done. I've had everything from physiotherapy to osteopaths to chiropractors, MRIs and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of all right. Well, it should have been because I did another challenge shortly after. I tried to come up with the world's the hardest event I've done, which is the hardest Ironman. I don't think you know this one.
No, what's that one?
So I left where the kids get their treatment, Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. We did a 250-mile cycle. So again, with no sleep, 250-mile cycle to York. Then we jumped into the river. I got off the bike, jumped in the river, did a 5-mile open water swim. Then got out of the river, put on my trainers, ran a marathon, 26.2 miles to Elvington Airfield, back where we finished that one. And then I pulled the Optimus Prime truck. They brought the Optimus Prime truck. And then me, with all of my students I've had since they were 4 years of age, we pulled it 2 miles down the runway.
Are they jumping in, helping as well?
They were pushing it, they were pulling it, but they all had, when I got back, they all had white T-shirts on with a picture of me and them when I first started coaching them. So it's all these blokes with beards, and it's a picture of me like that when they're little kids next to them with their first belt.
Talk about motivation towards the end.
It's my profile picture, that is.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So my background picture on Facebook. With all of them.
Hell of a role model, mate. Well done. Not just for your students, but like you said, for your kids, which is what you wanted to.
Being able to look back in the future, look back and go, I did something amazing. That's always a good thing to do because we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a great deal of time here. You've got to make sure, you do something where, but you also if other people are going through stuff that's so much worse than you, like if ever I go, oh, my back's a bit sore, this is a bit sore, when there's only them challenges, if you look at that, if you ever look and you see what the family go through and you go, God, this actually makes a massive, massive difference. Like the stuff that I do, the money that I do, I was contacted by a radio station in Dubai shortly after because they picked up about the Batten's disease based on the world record that I did because it got everywhere. It was all over Lab Bible, the Mang.
Which one was the world record again?
The marathon pulling a plane.
The marathon pulling a plane?
Yeah.
Has anyone attempted that since, have they?
I don't think so, no.
Did you set it from a standing start?
Yeah.
Or
no one's ever done it. The thing is, though, there's
I can imagine.
It doesn't come. The idea, it was the elevator pitch. So do you know the elevator pitch? No. So when you get in, if you come up with a pitch, if you get in an elevator with someone, you've probably got 15, 20 seconds to get to the top. Give them your idea. Can you get them excited in that time? So if I got into the elevator with you and I go, oh, I'm thinking of running an Ironman event and I'm going to do this and do that. They go, yeah, whatever, Carl, whatever. But if we get in there, what are you going to do? I'm going to run a marathon pulling an aeroplane.
You're just thinking the biggest, most craziest things you possibly can.
Something that doesn't resonate with a response.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense
whatsoever. Or 10 marathons back to back.
10 marathons in a row, yeah. Without ever running a marathon. Yeah, just do it. Okay, cool. Fair enough.
So like Jay from the In-Betweeners or something.
Completed it, mate.
Yeah.
Completed it, mate. But there's a reason, I think there's a reason why. So you said before that we're probably both on the spectrum in some way. So my ADHD is high. It's very high. My wife thinks it's an absolute nightmare. Okay, absolute nightmare because I need to be doing something at all times. But there is actually there's a gene. Now it's known as the wanderlust gene, and it's to do with your dopamine receptor, and it's DRD4-7R. Now what it is people who have it, if you are on the spectrum, ADHD is most commonly linked to, but it's a direct link to your dopamine receptor for motivation and thrill seeking. So essentially, people who do the kind of stuff I like to do don't get the same enjoyment, say, sitting in the pub and watching the football or something like that. But I find it really exciting if someone says, should we try and like climb Ben Nevis carrying a fridge? It's a fucking great idea. That's funny. Everyone else go, why? And I go, but why do you want to sit in the pub? I don't get it. I don't get the same excitement. And it's known as, it's a scientific thing. It's the wanderlust gene, DRD4-7R.
Yeah.
And it's known as the thrill seeker gene.
Definitely wired differently to other people, aren't you?
Yeah.
And definitely when people are ADHD, and I've got quite a lot of instructors and stuff as well. And like I said with myself, but I am wired differently as well. I want to do stuff, repetition as well. Like I remember listening to a song I liked. It's about 10 or 15 minutes long. It was what they called the 12 inches back in the day, the extended version, the DJ's version. And I was based in Dover at the time to Telford. And I just listened to that one song over and over again on loop. It's like, because I liked it. And every single time I heard it, it gave me exactly the same enjoyment. And like, that's not normal. So
no, that's
I'm able to do stuff over and over and over and over again when other people might get bored. And what does that lead to in any type of endeavor? Repetition.
Yeah.
Leads to
it's perfection. Repetition leads to perfection.
Yeah,
doesn't it, in your craft.
And you can get really good at stuff then from that, as long as you tap in to the thing that floats your boat.
Yeah.
But we only do that because we're unable to possibly focus in on something that what someone else wants you to focus in on. It's got to be what you want to focus on.
I wouldn't be able to excel in something if I didn't like it because my brain shuts off. But if I enjoy something, I will think about it non-stop.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
But that's where success comes from.
Yeah.
That's
and
where success comes
you'll lie in bed awake all night. And you get up, you'll be writing stuff down, you'll be having an affair with the whole idea. All you'll talk about to people is that one thing. And your missus go, shut up, you boring bastard. Stop going on about it. You've already said, I know. I'm assuming you're probably exactly the same as well.
I am. I don't know if yours will be the same though.
What is that? What do you
so
mean?
It's conceptual.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think you have this, but I think you're far better than me at this bit, which is that when you say you're going to do something, you come up with the concept, but then you, when you get to the end, you then implement it all. So I'm the ADHD trait that's really bad for me is it's I'll come up with the concept of an idea and I'll go, I love this. I'll do all of it. I love it. I've got a great new idea. So I need to be able to come up with a concept of something and then hand it to someone for them to run with and then do the concept again. And then
of course.
And I've got it. If I get to that, I've got to do an exciting thing about it. It's like the back end in business.
Absolutely.
You struggle with the back end in business.
Yeah, but what you do need then is the right people around you because you'll have some great energy, some great motivation, some great ideas. But yeah, if it's that bit getting it to. So with me, I'm not just loads of ideas all the time. I'm a one-trick pony. Everything comes off of that one thing, which for me was martial arts and then the military. And then I've developed my whole concept of my British military martial arts because that's all I had. I had no other option of doing anything else. But because I endeavored down that path consistently, and you just keep improving upon what you're doing and reassessing and testing and readjusting, you end up to get some level of success in it. And then you can just keep pushing on. And as long as you don't change your mind and go from one thing to the next and you stay on that one trajectory with that same mindset, then, like I said, I can do repetition over and over and over again. Then you just keep building and then you get the compound effect after a bit as well. So when you start to get good, it's like a planet with its masses. The planets start sucking all those other smaller planets in, don't they, through their gravity. So they're one big super planet. Yeah. And it's the same, with things just start to compound and you learn from your mistakes and you just keep growing.
We both got it.
Absolutely.
Both got it. There's nothing wrong with it. ADHD is good.
Brilliant, mate. Well, listen, it's been absolutely amazing speaking to you today, mate. Really good to catch up with you again.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Really good to hear about your success with the school, with all the students and everything else. And before we finish then, I just wanted to, this is where you are now. This is what you're doing. What are your plans for the future, just to finish?
I reckon, I think I've got to a point now where I really, really love what I do. I've taken a slight step back from the curriculum work so I can work with the fighters. I'm very much into end goal for fighters into a professional realm. I very much like that, really like that. We've got to a point now where we've got a full system. So we've got avenues that all of our fighters can go down. Some can go down curriculum, belt grading. Some can go to coaching development. Some can go to the fighting development. I get a real buzz at the moment in like mastering a certain area. I really like that. Like I've done a couple of like the full contact shows and stuff like that, and I love it.
You guys are doing well on those as well, aren't they?
I like them, yeah, but I'm never going to forget what we are with the point fight because I honestly still find of all of the fighting styles that I do, I still get more buzzed up in a huge tournament in point fighting more than I do in the others. But I just enjoy the fact that there are avenues opening up for the full contact guys a little bit more. but I like the fact that it's in a skill set that all these guys have grown up with.
Yeah, of course. You're not
So
having
your
to
point
like,
find, your line
yeah.
contact, all of that goes to this, because what we have a big issue with at the moment is our sport leads to people leaving the sport for boxing,
And,
for
yeah.
MMA, for these. We don't have anything that's directly linked to the skill
Or
set.
taekwondo as well.
Or
Sometimes,
taekwondo, yeah.
But again, they're all slightly off of the lane that we've been training in
Yeah.
for. The taekwondo
Yeah.
is the closest, but it's still for the average spectator, they might think it's the same, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's a very different. It's a very different sport, isn't it? Really, I mean, the fundamentals are the same with the kicking and the punching, and it's closer than maybe boxing or
Yes.
MMA is. MMA as well. The striking side of it, we do very, very well in. There's a lot of guys. I was speaking to Connor Hughes the other day.
Yes.
He's doing really well with the PFL. You've had Michael Page as well. You've had, you know what I mean, Raymond Daniels has done well. Ross Levin, Elijah Everell. These going on to all these striking different styles and they're excelling. But like with Michael, like with going to, it was Bellator and now UFC, he's had to spend 10 years to get really good at his grappling, probably more, before he could go, because he's not going to be prepared. So if there's something they can do, which is kind of still in that same lane, it's going to be a lot easier for them, isn't it, than having to learn a whole skill? Yeah,
it is. And also, I mean, the groundwork is, it goes completely, not completely against, but unless we've worked with that in ages, you've now got, it used to be that you could have a striking athlete who could compete with, you know, a wrestling athlete, you know, when it started. But now you've got kids starting in MMA from the very start. So they're learning a ground game at the same time, whereas we specialize so much on the striking. This is something, and I was actually speaking to, you know, Elijah about this, and that was that in karate combat, it used to be there was a certain amount of time that you had on the floor for ground and pound, whereas I think now it's unlimited time.
If you're on the floor, you just have to get up now.
Yeah, no, but the problem is then it takes the risk away from you wanting to. In that case, I won't throw my really flashy kicks to look really good.
I'm not messing a kick up and being on the floor forever.
And also the leg kicks. So leg kicks as well, you voluntarily stand really close to the other person.
Yeah.
So it takes away the flamboyance, it takes away the crazy athletic spinning techniques that all people would, I think, are really exciting to look at.
Yeah, it ruins the integrity of the flamboyancy.
Yeah.
And the risk taking with the higher kicks.
And that's what you want to see.
Yeah, of course it is. From a spectator, they're the things that everyone wants to see. That's the things. That's why I joined up. Head kicks and spin kicks and Bruce Lee and Van Damme. You know, it wasn't in watching him reverse punch someone or, you know.
And it wasn't someone getting a Kimura on the ground or something. I mean, the skill set is amazing. For what they do is amazing. But I don't want to have to take somebody who's dedicated their entire life to this, you know, this style of fighting and then go, all right, by the way, now keep doing that, but learn all this from scratch now in order to be a professional fighter.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I know, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, hopefully there'll be, we've got Total Combat, haven't we? It's going to be starting in 2025.
And I have fighters for it.
Yeah,
so it's very good.
Hopefully we can get that off the ground, and that's going to be a pathway for the mat sport fighters to go and have a full contact fight, which isn't very similar to what they've been learning and doing.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Carl. I really appreciate it today, and it's good to see you again, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.